my slips, my falls, my trials and tribulations, my heart, my balls, my somebody stop, somebody come and get me. Little did I know that the Lord was riding with me. The dark, the light, my heart, the fight, the wrong, the right is gone.
Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Samuel Legger here representing Team JVS. So I'm back here again for another season review. Now, this is going to be a non-spoiler review, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details about things that I've seen through this, and I'm only going over the first 5 episodes. And I'm talking about the new HBO hit, soon to be hit I should say, Lovecraft. Now, this is going to be a hard review, but I'm going to kind of overview what Lovecraft is, and I'm also going to kind of go into what I really thought about it, for good or bad. Now, synopsis reads, as a young African-American travels across the United States in the 1950s in search of his missing father. That is the overview. Now, you got Jonathan Majors plays the role of Atticus Freeman. You got Jurnee Smollett plays the role of Letty Lewis. Courtney B. Vance plays the role of his Uncle George Freeman. And then you got Michael Keith Williams as the role of Monroe, or the dad of the story. And then you got very well placed actresses in Abby Lee as the role of Christina, and then Wunmi playing the role of Ruby, which I don't want to go into too much detail about either one of those other characters. But I will say across the board, everybody acts their tail off. Everybody. Like, every single one of the actors are engaging. They go for it. The funny thing about the last thing I think I actually saw Wunmi in, I feel like it was a Luther episode. I may be wrong. Yeah, she was in a Luther episode. And her, bro, like, she is tough. She does an amazing. There's one episode towards the very last episode that I was kind of like, yo, this is crazy. Yo, she is going for it. Jurnee, she has some of the most dynamic and amazing moments throughout this entire first 5 episodes that I was kind of like, yo, she is strong, she is flawed, she's ambitious, but yet she's kind, but yet she also has a lot of guilt and a lot of skeletons in her closet, and she's stacking them up. And the thing about this show in and of itself is very evil and it's very dark. What I mean by that is it dabbles in not just what you see from the trailers, a lot of race relation issues, a lot of segregation, a lot of racism, a lot of bigotry, all over, plastered throughout this. A big bulk of this in the stratosphere, outside of the supernatural elements and outside of the magic and the otherworldly stuff that's really dark, is this overlying theme of people's perception of who is earned and who isn't, and who is given and who has been held back. And to the forefront of that is this African American man and his family and his lineage and what they're really kind of doing with it. From the very opening, the very first episode, you will understand how insane this show really is. It's really jarring. The very first shot, I was kind of like, bro, what is this, bro? But stay steadfast and just watch the progression of it. If anything, kind of just put that and keep it in a bubble and remember it, but don't yurt over it, because every single episode fundamentally takes from certain elements of different horror genres, which are very fascinating, like whether it be like Wolfman, whether it be like Dracula, whether it be like Pirates of the Caribbean, whether it be whatever. Like you get all these different kind of genres per episode, and I think it's evenly distributed pretty well. There's only one episode I kind of felt like was a little bit weaker, and just because I didn't really understand why they were kind of pressing it the way that they did. But the actor that plays the role of Atticus, the main character, Jonathan Major, the last movie I saw him in was in the Five Bloods, and he's kind of like a side character, but he had a really strong sequence in that movie. throughout, from the very first moment you see him, you know, on this bus to the 5th episode and the very last sequence there, you are just like, yo, he is killing it. Like, he is like, not just he has the physical presence of, you know, like somebody that's very strong but flawed, but even more than that, there's a darkness that's just all over him, that you know that there's something wrong that he can't do anything about, or that he knows that he can't do anything about. And even crazier than that, it's like metaphorically, like from his past, from his actual past as a character, as well as the supernatural element that's in front of him. Like, it's like, no matter what way you look at it, like, he is compromised. He is very much so compromised. And him as an actor, he nails every single one of his moments. Like, from the horrific action moments, from the moments where he is put in jeopardy, his life is put in jeopardy, other people around him are put in jeopardy. Like, he capitalizes on it every single episode. He never lets up in his performance. And him and Jurnee, their chemistry is amazingly impeccable, because not only do they work off each other very well, but they challenge each other. They thrive off each other as characters and as actor and actress. Like, they really do push each other to limits that I didn't think possible. There was one specific moment where Jurnee, in the very first episode, towards the back half of it, where she's talking to him and she was terrified, and like they were talking, and also she just starts to, she's either praying or talking to herself, and he's like talking and had this engaging conversation to her, and that was the motivation that she needed to go and do the insane thing that she has to go and do. And like that's literally both of them. They both feed off each other and they thrive amazingly. Now, you got legends in this, in Courtney B. Vance and Michael Keith Williams. Courtney B. Vance, he is a vet, man. Like he's got so much charisma and like engagement, and like it feels like there's a rich history behind this man. Not only is he in love with books and in love with his family, he really does go out of his way to do the right thing by any means necessary. He is a good soul, like, and it is so interesting to see him kind of like play this character. He plays it so well. But then you got his brother, who's the father of Atticus, and Michael Keith Williams, and like he's crushing it too in his own way. Like I want to say by the 4th and 5th episode, you get to understand, like, bro, this man can act. And like normally he works in this kind of villain-esque role, and that's not to say that he's not in this, but it's just very fundamentally different because the times are different and because the circumstances are different, and also this whole underlying lineage situation that you just don't know. And one thing I would say is pay attention as best you can to the details that are being spoken through exposition or just basic interactions between characters. Like, pay as close attention as you possibly can, because every single one of the details do line up and they do come right back around later on, and it do pay off. They really do pay off later on. There's one episode, I want to say it, I'm going to go ahead and say it. 3rd episode freaked me out. I don't think I've seen an episode, I'm not even going to say episode, I ain't seen a horror movie that freaked me out like that in a while. Maybe that's because I stay away from that type of genre, specifically catered to that episode. I'm not going to spoil it, but bro, I was putting the mute button on, I was turning away, I was like, I'm not hearing this. I was like, yo, I don't know what this evil mess is going on, but no, I'm not doing it, fam. And throughout, there's terrifying moments. There are terrible, horrific sci-fi moments, and they pull from every genre you can think of, those different classic trope, you know, I don't want to spoil too much, but yo, they go there. Like they go on the darkest sides of science fiction and sorcery and everything you could think of. Like all the different layers of evil, whether it be, you know, volatile, murder, malicious intent, racism, witchcraft and darkness, and then like the darkest parts of science fiction. They go through every single one of them, and for good or bad, like I personally, I almost quit. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I almost was like, I don't think I can keep going. I don't think I can keep watching this. And I'm glad that you guys will be able to check it out week per week, because if this was something that just came all out at once, I wouldn't recommend that to anybody. It's not one of those bingeable shows. Like, you really need to kind of take a step back away for a second and then watch it, because the levels of darkness on this really go places that I don't necessarily think should. But I understand why, and I understand the genre, and I understand where some people are going to be like, wow, I'm in love with this show, and I get it. And I commend the show. Like, everything about the show is amazing. From the cinematography, from the acting, from where they're going and taking the genre, where they're taking the overarching story. It all fits perfectly. And it's engaging to the point that I really don't know what's going to happen next. And I'm on the 5th episode at this point, and I'm about to go to the 6th, but I'm just kind of just like taking it back, and the sky's the limit. All I can really say. Just from the world building that I've seen so far, like, if you understand that this show has this much darkness and race relation issues and death, and I didn't even go into that. Ooh, there's a lot of murder. There's a lot of death. There's a lot of gore. Like, gore that's not just, yes, there's some terrible heinous scenes. It's not just gratuitous. It is malicious. They go and do things that I dare say were outside of the scope that I thought that the show was capable of. And the VFX and the practical effects are done so well. Like, the cinematography I talked about was good, but the VFX and the way that they are doing certain practical effects are amazing. Like, I'm so serious. There's a couple scenes I want to definitely bring out. The first episode, 3rd episode, 5th episode. There are VFX in those that are so good that I was like, movies don't even get it that well. Movies don't go, like, horror movies don't take it to those levels. They don't take it to those strides. And this show does that. And I was kind of like, yo, Jordan Peele, what you doing, man? But yeah, that's all I can really say for now without going into spoiler territory. It definitely does have its overarching story. The threads of characters are interwoven in different ways that you really have to pay attention. But there's this feeling of dread and death and evil that just kind of lords over the show, and to me, it's a bit much for me personally. But in terms of everything else, like, it's masterclass. Like, it's a very well done show. That's all I'm gonna really say. I'm not gonna go into any more details than that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review/overview of Lovecraft in the first 5 episodes. Definitely go and check it out when it releases next week on HBO or HBO Max. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Have a blessing, you guys. Peace.